An alleged homophobic slur by an NHL player has people in the hockey world and well beyond talking this morning. Scarborough's Wayne Simmonds denies that he used the slur during a game, a charge that had been leveled by fellow NHLer Sean Avery. Simmonds, who is black, was himself a victim of a racial slur during a game earlier this month. The president of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Bryan Burke, says that homophobic comments are still common, and he lauded the NHL for saying it won't tolerate such slurs. For his comment on the story, we're joined by Bryan Frois. He's communications director for the Toronto Gay Hockey Association. He's with me in studio now. Good morning.
Good morning.
When you heard about this incident, what was your first reaction?
Well, I wasn't shocked. I'm quite young myself, and I've been in minor hockey. I just got out of minor hockey maybe 5 years ago, and being raised in the game on and off the ice, it's something that is generally used on the ice, and not that I think that it's necessary to use it, but it's something that is just spoken word on the ice.
I want to talk a bit more about what you've heard on the ice and what that says about the fact that you still hear it now. But one of the things that came out of this was that there was no punishment for the player for allegedly making this slur. The NHL said that they wouldn't punish him. Do you think that's appropriate?
Absolutely not. I know other major leagues in North America have punished players for uttering homophobic slurs, and I think the NHL has taken a step backwards if they want to promote a fair and free environment of racism and homophobia in their game.
Bryan Burke, the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, has been outspoken on this issue in part because of his son, who was openly gay. He marched in the Pride Parade in memory of his son. He says that essentially there's a bit of a double standard going on, that certain slurs are not acceptable. Other slurs, particularly homophobic slurs, manage to slip past perhaps the censors and still exist within the hockey world. And he says that the NHL needs to do more to crack down on this. What do you make of his comments and the fact that he's been so outspoken on this?
I think it's great. I agree that there is a double standard on the ice right now. I know from playing, racial slurs are definitely something that are looked down upon on the ice. You wouldn't even think once about saying something like that. Homophobic slurs, not the same thing. Still being uttered. In our league, something that we punish. We generally don't face those issues, don't have those issues because we are a predominantly gay hockey association.
Generally? I mean, do occasionally people in your league still use those sorts of slurs?
In my 3 years in the league, I believe we have never faced an issue.
You had to put out a statement yesterday, or you did put out a statement saying that the NHL should ban homophobic remarks. I want to talk a bit more about what's in the statement, but what does it say when in 2011 you need to put out a statement like this, saying that homophobia should be taken out of professional hockey?
Well, in Canada, I think we're pretty progressive. We've dealt with this. The school systems are dealing with this. Hockey, sports, the last straw that needs to be dealt with. It is still prevalent. We still need a league such as this. In a perfect world, we wouldn't need a league such as ours. But we still need it because our players have faced and still face homophobia in straight organized leagues and in minor hockey.
Why do you think that those slurs are still used within some hockey leagues in some games by some players?
I believe it has to do with conditioning, growing up. I know one NHL assistant coach, I believed, the other day made comment that it has to do with parenting. Partly, that is correct. The way the kids are brought up, a lot of the words that they use on the ice come from the schoolyard as well.
Is it, though, is the league somewhat complicit in this, in saying we aren't going to take... we're going to have a very hard line on this, and this is not going to be acceptable in any stretch? I mean, there has to be some sort of, I guess, monitoring from above to say this is not acceptable. We understand that if, as happened in past in this preseason game, a banana is thrown on the ice, that is condemned, and that is known to be beyond the pale and absolutely not acceptable. But if somebody issues a homophobic slur, we heard some players yesterday saying, well, things are said. And it's in the heat of the moment, and it's no harm done. Does the league have to say, you know what, I'm sorry, but that some things aren't said, and that you actually have to have a harder line on this?
Absolutely. The NHL needs to step forward. They need to possibly put forth a program. Possibly Hockey Canada needs to put forth a program for an absolute ban on homophobia and gay slurs on the ice. It starts when the kids are young, and it continues on to if they make it to the National Hockey League.
One of the most interesting parts of your statement is, furthermore, we challenge the NHL to adopt inclusive policies that protect homosexual players in the league who are afraid of coming out of the closet.
Yes.
How many of those players do you think there are?
Well, they say 1 in 10 individuals are gay. Quite frankly, there could be 1 or 2 gay players per NHL team. There are gay hockey players in the National Hockey League. They are afraid to come out. And we know for a fact that there are because they have reached out to us. Some have actually played in our league in the past. However, the league is not doing enough to protect them and protect them in their space and their work environment.
Very briefly, what do you think would happen if one of those players came out?
Well, I think that if it was a superstar player, I actually think that the league and the players are progressive. The league has their roots in Canada. We're fairly liberal. I think that player would be embraced. However, if it was a third, fourth line player, I think that player would face a lot of hate. A lot of NHL teams might not want to deal with that player from a media standpoint, and I think they would have a hard time finding a job.
It's a shame that we need to keep talking about this. Bryan, thank you so much.
Thank you.